With all the economic news swirling around, are you finding yourself kind of glued to your bank balance, waiting to see if that regular benefit payment actually lands as expected?
We've been noticing, a real uptick in questions and concerns from our audience about the security of their Social Security benefits. We're talking retirement income, SSDI for those on disability, survivor benefits, spousal benefits, SSI, VA payments, even Railroad Retirement Board payments.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? When you're relying on these funds month after month to cover your essentials, that uncertainty can be unsettling.
Absolutely. And it's not just Social Security benefits that are on people's minds. There's a lot of chatter out there about banks, and that has folks worried about any kind of money they have deposited, whether it's from their job or these crucial benefits.
Right, like will those deposits actually be there when they need them? So today we're doing a deep dive specifically into how stable those benefit payments really are, especially given the economic ups and downs we're seeing.
Yeah, we've been digging into some recent reports and articles to get to the bottom of this and address those anxieties head on.
We've seen a huge increase in these types of questions during our live streams, in the comments sections, you name it.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
clear that this is a major concern for so many people, that financial security is so important, and any hint of instability in the system, well, it's bound to make people nervous.
And to be honest, looking at the overall economic situation, it's not exactly a picture of, smooth sailing. One of the reports we looked at actually used the phrase massive cracks to describe it, almost like, when you see a huge chunk of ice about to break off from a glacier.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty powerful image, isn't it? It really highlights the interconnected pressures in our economy, how different parts can impact each other.
It definitely doesn't sound like things are as stable as we'd like them to be.
Right. It suggests we're at a point where things could shift pretty dramatically. Maybe not tomorrow or next week, but the potential is there.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the big picture. But when we zero in on the banks specifically, at least right now, things don't seem as precarious. The information we've seen suggests the banking sector overall looks, stable enough at the moment.
Yes, as of right now, the assessment is that the banking system can handle these payments without any major interruptions.
So those benefits should continue to land in your account as usual.
That's the expectation for the moment. But of course, economic conditions can change, so it's important to stay informed.
And that brings us to the big question that's probably on everyone's minds. What about the future? Could those benefit payments be disrupted down the road?
Well, it's interesting. The sources we looked at were very clear on one point. They basically said during economic recessions, bank failures are, and this is a direct quote, 100% going to be bank failures.
Wow, so not a question of if, but when.
Right. History shows us that during tough economic times, some banks just don't make it.
And this isn't ancient history we're talking about. I mean, just a couple of years ago, we saw it happen with Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic, Signature Bank. It was a pretty big deal.
Definitely. And those failures are still fresh in people's minds, adding to the anxiety around this topic. It's a reminder that even seemingly strong institutions can be vulnerable.
The good news is that usually what happens is these bigger banks, the Bank of Americas of the world, the Chases, JP Morgan Chase, they come in and they basically absorb these smaller failing banks.
Right. So it's not like the whole system collapses. It's more like a reshuffling.
So even though a particular bank might fail, the impact on customers and more importantly on those benefit payments is often, limited.
It's designed to be that way, The idea is to contain the damage and keep the overall system functioning.
So the million-dollar question is, could bank failures actually lead to your benefits being delayed or, even worse, stopped altogether?
It's the question, right? It's what everyone wants to know.
Well, the sources we looked at, they said that while disruptions are possible, it's unlikely that most people will see a major interruption in their benefit payments. They basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, for the most part, those payments will keep rolling in like always.
And a big part of that is because of something we've all heard of, but maybe don't fully understand, FDIC insurance.
FDIC insurance, right. It's like a safety net for your money in the bank.
Exactly. And it covers up to $250,000 per depositor per insured bank. So if your bank goes belly up, You're not going to lose everything.
And it's not like a secret society. There are ways to make sure your bank is FDIC insured.
Yeah, you'll see signs on the doors, the teller windows, even in the drive-through. And you can always check their website.
And for those who use credit unions, you have a similar type of insurance through the NCUA, the National Credit Union Administration. So no matter where you bank, there's a system in place to protect your deposits, including those all-important benefit payments.
It's a big relief, honestly, knowing that even if your bank has problems, your money is still protected, at least up to that limit.
Now, here's a thought that I found really interesting. The sources we looked at suggested that right now, the bigger risk to your benefits might not be your bank at all, but potential changes within the Social Security system itself.
That's an interesting point. There are a lot of discussions happening around Social Security about its long-term funding and how it's structured.
Right, there's that ongoing debate about potential adjustments or changes to the system.
And those changes, if they happen, could have a bigger impact on your benefit payments than anything going on with your bank right now.
So the message here isn't to lie awake at night worrying about whether your local bank, your regional bank, your small town bank, whatever, is going to suddenly go under.
At least not at this moment. Right now, the focus should probably be on those larger policy discussions around benefits and how they might evolve.
But of course, it never hurts to stay informed about what's happening in the economy as a whole, right?
Absolutely. Things can change quickly, and it's always good to be aware of potential risks.
The sources we looked at did mention one other potential issue for banks, particularly those smaller regional banks, and that's the losses they could face from commercial real estate loans.
Right. That's another factor that could make some banks more vulnerable than others.
But, to be honest, diving into that whole commercial real estate thing is a whole other deep dive that we probably need to do at some point.
Yeah, it's a complex issue that deserves its own conversation.
But for now, let's stick with the main takeaway, and that is when it comes to your monthly benefit payments, the bottom line is, right now, you're good.
Yes, based on the information we've gathered, those systems that deliver your benefits, they're working as they should.
But, and this is a big but, things could change. In fact, the sources were pretty clear that in the event of, say, a major recession, changes are 100% guaranteed.
Which is why it's so important to stay informed and be aware of the broader economic trends. We'll definitely keep you updated if we see any major shifts that could impact your benefits.
And just to be absolutely crystal clear, as of right now, there's no change to how you'll be receiving your benefit payments. So hopefully that provides some reassurance and peace of mind.
We know these economics discussions can be stressful, so if we can offer any clarity or help alleviate some of that anxiety, that's what we're here for.
It's understandable to feel uneasy when the economy feels shaky, but the key takeaway is this. Right now, there's no need to panic about your benefit payments. Those systems, including those safeguards like FDIC insurance, they're designed to keep those payments flowing, even when times are tough.
Exactly. It's all about having those safety nets in place to protect people, especially when it comes to essential income, like Social Security and other benefits.
So while we can't predict the future, we can definitely arm ourselves with knowledge. Understanding how these systems work can make all the difference in how we navigate these uncertain economic times.
Knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
The more you understand how things work, the less intimidating it all becomes.
So we encourage you to stay informed, keep those questions coming, and know that we're here to help you make sense of it all.
Absolutely. We'll continue to monitor the situation, and as always, we'll be back with more deep dives as needed to keep you informed and empowered.
Thank you for joining us, and remember, we're in this together.
We are indeed.